Top 5 Worst Serial Killers. In a world where death is the only certainty, let's have a look at a few crazy humans who decided to take matters into their own hands. Even earthquakes, terrorists and fatal diseases take a backseat when these names are read out. So let's delve into our list of the worst serial killers known to mankind. Here are the top 5. Number 5. Gory at number 5 is Moses Sithole with a body count of 38 or so murders and 40 rapes. South Africa's most infamous serial killer and perpetrator of what were known as the ABC murders due to the fact that they started, continued and finished in towns named Atteridgeville, Boksburg and Cleveland. He would lead his victims out into deserted fields under false pretenses where he would then overpower, rape and murder them. After his capture in 1995 and then conviction in 1997, he was sentenced to 2,410 years with the possibility of parole in 930 years. In the year 2000, it was reported that Sithole had contracted AIDS whilst in prison. Number 4. A notorious Ukrainian serial murderer, as well as being a chronic bedwetter suffering from impotence, Andrei Chikatilo earned himself such titles, the Rostov Ripper and the Butcher of Rostov, after the area in which the murders were committed, and he is at number 4. A sexual deviant, Chikatilo was only able to achieve orgasm by stabbing and slashing his victims rather than outwardly raping them. Active from the late 1970s all the way through to the very early 1990s, he was apprehended and interrogated by police and sentenced to death, a sentence which was carried out in 1994 by a gunshot to the head. He was 57 at the time. His body count came up to 53. Number 3. Deadly number 3 Brunner Looker's regime spanned 15 years starting in 1928. Looker was caught near the end of World War II by Nazi police after they allegedly discovered him committing necrophilia on the corpse of one of his recently deceased victims. He subsequently confessed to a number of crimes and was declared insane, being sent to a hospital in Vienna where he was subjected to medical experiments which resulted in his death by lethal injection in 1944. Even after his sterilization due to having been previously caught molesting a young woman, he continued to assault and then murder a number of other women, often by stabbing and strangulation. Body count of this killer is 85. Number 2. Heinous Henry Lee Lucas is at number 2. Originally confessing to thousands of murders with his accomplice Otto Stool, police then subsequently attributed roughly 213 murder cases to his name, although only 4 were ever solidly proven to have been committed by him, one of which included his own abusive mother, thanks to the information they garnered from Lucas. He was apprehended in 1983 and then sentenced to death. But bizarrely enough, his sentence was commuted to life in prison by the then Governor George W. Bush. Out of 153 death penalty cases to be reviewed, Bush decided that this was the only case he'd intervene on. Many believed that Lucas had simply been toying with the police, testing them, maybe hoping to embarrass them somehow, just to see how far he could go. Lucas died of natural causes in 2001, aged 64, taking the true number of how many crimes he committed to the grave with him. Number 1. Pedro Alonso Lopez is really evil and at spot 1 with a body count of over 300. By far one of the most prolific serial killers of all time, the monster of the Andes butchered enough people to fill a small town. After killing around 100 tribal women in Peru in the 1970s, he was apprehended by tribal forces that were just about ready to execute him when they were convinced by an American missionary that was staying with them at the time to take him to the police force instead. Unfortunately, the police then just let him go, after which Lopez traveled to Ecuador where he proceeded to kill about 3 to 4 girls a week, claiming that girls in Ecuador were become more gentle and trusting, more innocent. This carried on until he was caught in 1980, but police were still unsure of his guilt. But a flash flood uncovered a mass grave that had hidden many of his victims, which then led to his arrest. However, the Ecuador government then released him in 1998, deporting him to Colombia. Lopez allegedly said that he was being released for good behavior.